Welcome to another episode of Seeing Them Live, a podcast featuring memorable concert stories from live music fans. Everyone has a concert story, and hopefully, one day, we'll hear yours. And now, we're going to hear Heidi's.
Okay, some kids that were up on the upper deck were dropping stuff down and splashing. So, I had a team of boys and another mom. I said, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and take this.
Usually at this point in my introduction, I say what the guest does for a living, et cetera, et cetera. But I have a special guest today. Heidi is actually my mom, and I consider her one of the most special guests, not only because she's my mom, of course, but she took me to my first concert, and kind of an unexpected, I wasn't originally supposed to go. My dad was supposed to go, but came down with a cold and couldn't make it. So we went to see the Eagles in 1976 at the Chicago Stadium. And Mom, I always find this interesting when I talk to guests, people that I've known for years and years, and I don't know the first concert that they ever went to. So when I asked you this question, this was actually your first concert as well.
Right. Hi, sweetheart. You're going to make me cry. This was my first concert.
Wait till the show's over.
Okay.
Yeah. So why don't you tell a little bit about that concert, I guess. And we were supposed to go with my aunt and my uncle. Well, they bought the tickets, right? Is that how that happened?
Right. We had decided to go see the Eagles. We all loved them. And so your uncle and aunt bought the tickets. And unfortunately, your dad got sick right before the concert and that. And so I thought, well, I've got to use this ticket up. And so I heard you. You were only too happy to go. So it was a really nice evening and got to use the ticket up. So that was important.
Yeah, I was 11 years old at the time, so I'd never really been to anything like that. And, that was right before they were releasing Hotel California. It was going to come out I don't know, the next month or in a few weeks. So they were like hugely popular. And yeah, I was just completely blown away by that. The crowd, just the band, the whole thing was incredible.
Well, since this was my first concert, it was incredible to me too, because I was listening to the Eagles and, like you said, Hotel California, and I, knew all their songs and everything, but seeing them live was so exhilarating. The lights, the crowd, everybody in the crowd interested in the same things, and it was really exciting for me as well.
Yeah, so that kind of ignited, my passion, I guess, for live music. So the following summer, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the timeline here. It'd be the summer of 1977. You took me to see Pink Floyd at Chicago's Soldier Field for their Animals tour, which I had been listening. You and Dad had a copy of Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon, and on 8-track, actually. I listened to it on 8-track. And so I was like, and at that time, I didn't really understand the concept of tours and albums. Like, oh, I like Dark Side of the Moon, so let's go see Pink Floyd. So you actually went with me to the mall in the Sears parking lot, I believe. They used to sell it out of their automotive center there. There was a Ticketron.
Ticketron.
And we bought tickets. You bought 2 tickets.
Right. That was June 19th in 1977. And it was part of that Super Bowl of rock.
Right. Yeah, there was a series of those, usually with more than one band, but in this particular case, it was just Pink Floyd.
And it's funny when you have a live experience, it's not just a concert. There's always some other issues or things that come up that you have to deal with. And this
Yeah.
was really true with this concert, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I've read accounts from interviews and such with Roger Waters. He always believed that the promoter oversold the concert by 30,000 tickets. So the capacity of all the other concerts in that Super Bowl of Rock was 65,000. And he claims that they sold 95,000 tickets. And he even took an aerial photograph. The band had an aerial photographer photograph the crowd, which that picture is on Reddit. I saw it on Reddit, and I'll try to get a link to it in the show notes. But when you look at that picture, it's sort of disturbing, to be honest, because you can tell there are way too many people in that stadium. And
I
you were
tell you,
there, so
it was really disturbing is the great word for it. When we got there, I thought, wow, this is lucky. I found a place to park because I had that smaller car. And I couldn't wait to get into the concert and all this. And I knew when we approached the crowd and were going to enter that the crowd was actually like a moving live thing. And I said, now, Charles, hold on to my hand and don't let go. I was trying not to look panicked because, your kids are always watching you. So I'm trying to look, okay with that. But you could tell that this was an enormous crowd. It had its own life. But, as we did find a good spot, more or less, and the concert was going to start, and I couldn't believe when the music started and everything, and those animals that were floating over the concert, like the Macy's parade.
yeah,
They
they
were
had
all, they
a
were
big
huge.
farmer
Yeah,
over the stadium, and pigs, and
the pigs. Oh my God,
yeah.
it was amazing. It was so wonderful. And is that where, could you see from there?
Well, I had a hard time. Well, that was the thing with Pink Floyd. The stage was dark. It wasn't really about seeing the band play. It was more of the experience. And they had that like big circular movie projector screen going with all sorts of imagery, the pretty much the entire time, and fog and everything. And then these inflatable animals and such over the stadium. It was like outrageous at the time. I thought, heck, all concerts must be like this, and that was definitely not the case, because I have never since then experienced a concert like that. It was like a blessing and then sort of a curse, because then going forward, it just like, wow, you realize that was like way over the top. I tell people it's like comparing a neighborhood carnival with going to Disneyland. They're just not, it's not the same thing, so, but
Oh,
getting,
well, just imagine. I mean, it really, truly was worth the ticket and going. I mean, it was, like you said, something like we've never seen then afterward. But when we go out of the concert was over and you go out to get to your car, and you and another 50 people have just realized that your car's been towed away.
yeah,
But not legal parking, but it didn't have a sign, and other people were parking there. And I think it was the famous Lincoln
yeah,
Park Towing.
they're infamous. Yeah, in Chicago.
Oh God, I was not, I was trying to, my heart was just racing and I was trying not to panic. And I said, oh, don't worry. So we all started talking, and I didn't know how we were going to get to the towing, Lincoln Park Towing, because I, I didn't have there weren't any cabs. I didn't have an iPhone, that's for sure. And so someone offered to take us a young man said, well, I know where it's at and I can take you guys. And I'm thinking, oh my God, here I am taking a ride with a stranger. The one thing I was trying to teach my kids, never take a ride with a stranger. But I didn't, I had no idea where it was. I couldn't catch a
Yeah.
cab, and no extra money.
And yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, I believe actually it was the Chicago Police Pound. I think they towed the car because it was
Oh,
that spot they had it in was, I think it was on Lower Wacker, wasn't it? The
yes.
Pound. And for
Yeah.
those listening who aren't familiar with Lower Wacker, it's a series of streets that run underneath the city of Chicago. And during the day it's for deliveries and such to the businesses, but at night it's kind of sort of creepy. There's not a lot of people down there, and we're like trying to figure out where the car is, or my mom is. I'm kind of just going along for the ride. But when you think about it, the parking situation, if they did sell 30,000 extra tickets, you figure maybe if half of those people took public transportation and the other half doubled up into cars. So seven and a
Yeah.
half thousand additional cars just like show up to the stadium. Well, I remember we got your car back, but it had some damage to it, which was a
Yeah,
real
my
bummer.
yeah, the side view mirror was hanging down, remember, and stuff. But
Hmm.
you know what? I was so happy to get the car. I didn't even care about the damage. I knew that, I could find someone that could fix it when we finally got home, but it was a harrowing experience.
Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, again, I was oblivious. I'm like, I'd never been to Soldier Field, and then the crowd. I remember a guy put me on his shoulders to help me see, which I thought was really cool. This one
Cool. Yeah,
fan, because I was still pretty little at 12.
yeah.
And then amazingly, and this piece will kind of come back to another concert, but the last Super Bowl of rock featured Leonard Skinner. And when we got in line to get tickets, so I'm always, in hindsight, I'm always amazed that after that experience, you're like, yeah, let's go back to Soldier Field and see Leonard Skinner. Uh, but we were in line, and the line was quite long. And I remember you saying, "Well, we'll get tickets, the next time they come to
Oh,
town to play."
trust me, that was a teaching moment. Believe me, a teaching moment. And I felt so bad.
Yeah, because of course there was no next time. Their plane went down tragically, and yeah, that was a really sad situation. So, but then the following summer, you took me and a bunch of my friends to see this thing in Chicago at Comiskey Park, where the Chicago
Yeah,
Sox, the old Comiskey Park. This was 1978
right.
in
Summer jam.
August. Yeah, Summer Jam 1, and it featured some warm up acts: Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush, Walter Egan, AC/DC as a special guest, Foreigner, and Aerosmith. And yeah, just if you want to talk about that, I don't know how many people were with us, maybe a half dozen, my friends or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think my neighbor, lady friend, came because, like I said, we had no iPhone and I needed someone to help me navigate my way to the concert. And we drove a truck and
Hmm.
we had 6 or 7 boys in the backs of the truck, the pickup truck. When I think of this, I'm like, and
It
then
was a
her,
different time, right?
yeah, let's use that. It was a different time. And so her and I, she was my map quest, in other words. And she said, well, take a left here and there should be parking here and blah, blah, blah. But, that was a great venue also, AC/DC and all these wonderful bands together. And I don't know how many people were at that. Do you have any
No,
idea?
I remember it was interesting coming off of the Pink Floyd experience. Aerosmith that day, they were absolutely horrendous. I don't know any other way to describe it. The sound was awful. I couldn't understand any of the songs they were playing. And it's funny, Pink Floyd was my favorite all-time concert, 1977. And that Aerosmith performance in 1978 probably takes the cake as the all-time
Yeah.
worst concert experience. I mean, Foreigner was great. AC/DC was out of control. I wasn't really familiar with their music, but seeing Angus Young, the guy's just completely out of control on stage. But
Mm.
yeah, that was also, I think, the first time I saw somebody who was super intoxicated.
Which, of course, I used as a little teaching moment. Your concert mom has the ideal ages between 12 and 16 to teach your kids what to do at concerts, how to behave, not get in trouble.
Yeah.
And so this guy falls down right in front of where we're sitting, and he had on a pair of green pants. So your brother calls him green pants to this day. And I can't imagine what happened to his teeth. He just fell forward and his pants were hanging, and
Yeah, he
uh,
was completely, I don't know.
intoxicated.
Yeah, I don't know if he was drunk or what,
Yeah.
but
And security came around and tried to help him up. And I was saying, see, this is what happens, when you drink too much and it's not a good look. And when you're in public, I used it as my teaching moment. But yeah, green pants to this
yeah.
day refer to him as green pants.
Yeah, now you mentioned this term that we talked about before, concert mom. And I would say that you're definitely a concert mom. Like there's soccer moms and there's concert moms. And the difference or what defines, in my opinion, a concert mom is you take your kids to concerts they want to go to. You're not dragging us with you to go see Pink Floyd. We're like, Mom, we don't want to. It's like we're initiating it and you're helping to facilitate it by driving us, getting us tickets,
Oh,
that
it was
kind of thing.
wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed every moment of it. And I knew in my heart of hearts that you had a great group of friends. And I knew that these guys, when they turned 16, I wouldn't really need to drive you guys anywhere back to concerts. And so I had a wonderful experience from the time you were 11 to 16 and 17. And then, your friends started getting cars. And I never really expected to be invited or go. But they were always hanging out at the house and they were a great group of kids. So I felt very happy when they would go to the concerts with you and different things.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, there's like this 4 year
Yeah.
window. And during that 4 years, let's say between when I was 12 and 16, we saw Boston in March
Oh,
in 1979. That was the first time, not that like I had been to a ton of concerts and bought tickets, or I should say, you probably bought the tickets. We had obstructed view that said on the ticket, obstructed view, and they warned us. And because it was kind of on the side of the stage,
yeah.
but it ended up there was nothing there and there were great seats.
Always wondered why they said obstructed view, but we bought them because A, they were reasonable, and B, I don't think there was a whole lot of seats that we could have gotten closer, you know what I'm saying? But the view was just fine. I thought maybe having been to a few concerts, there might be an empty seat. We could move right or left or something, or, stand up. But there was no obstruction. That turned out to be a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and Boston. I mean, you could not listen to the radio for 5 minutes without hearing one of their songs. So that show was, no doubt, was sold out.
Yeah.
We'll hear more from our guests after a short break. Would you like to be a guest on Seeing Them Live? If you have a concert story you'd like to share on this podcast, please visit our website at seeingthemlive.com. Once you're there, click on Become a Guest in the main menu. Then fill out the form and click the Submit button. If you seem like a good fit for the show, we'll contact you via email. Everyone has a concert story. Let's hear yours. And now, back to the show. So then in 1979, that summer, August 5th, you took me and my friends, quite a few friends, the Loop's Day in the Park. And the Loop was a radio station in Chicago. And we all, I think when you bought tickets, you got a free Loop shirt or something.
Yeah.
We all had on our black loop shirts, and we made this banner which featured all the bands: Molly Hatchet, Thin Lizzy, Eddie Money, Santana, and Journey. And I think it was it between Thin Lizzy and maybe Eddie Money, a huge food fight broke out between like the lower deck and the upper deck.
Okay, some kids that were up on the upper deck were dropping stuff down and splashing. So, I had a team of boys and another mom. I said, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and take this. I said, okay, boys, pick up this stuff and throw it, heave it back up to the level, And, to your credit, you guys are around 14 and 15. You really could heave that stuff, that food back up at them. They were shocked that we did that. So that kind of ended the food fight thing.
Yeah, I remember somebody hit our banner with a Twinkie and it like exploded all over, which this banner
Oh,
was like pretty intense. I mean, it took a lot of work, and it's on a 10 by 12 bed sheet.
yes.
So we put the banner away, but then in 19 what was it?
80.
1980,
Yeah.
we went to this Yes concert because me and a couple of my friends were really into Yes, and that's when they had the new lineup and such, but we were still into them, and they were having a banner contest. So we made a Yes banner, and
Yeah.
you drove us to the show.
Right. We drove to the show and that was a super perfect banner. And I was really excited about winning. I just wanted to win with that. And our seats were pretty good for viewing. But I don't know if you remember, the reason I bought tickets to a second Yes concert was they didn't even view our side of the concert. You know what I'm saying? We had our banner hanging over, and I didn't see anybody look that way. Did you?
Yeah, well, yeah, no. And then I know you were disappointed. So
Yeah.
she said, we're because they're playing two shows. I don't know if that was at the Chicago Stadium or the International Amphitheater in Chicago. And of course, we're like, oh yeah, we'll go to another show, sure, So we went to that second show, and we did display the banner, and our banner was really cool. It would like featured the same kind of imagery as all of their album covers. I think that were designed by, I think the artist is Roger Dean.
Yeah.
And let's just say their voting mechanism was less than scientific or anything. It was like clapping. But anyway, at any rate, we got to see Yes 2 nights in a row, and that was pretty cool. And I was reading on a fan site that during that second show there was like a 40-minute power outage. The power went out, and
Right.
I don't remember that.
You know what? Now that you said that, I do. And the thing is, I think that the lights might have gone out or something, but it didn't seem like it was 40 minutes. Did it seem like that to you?
I honestly couldn't remember that, and I'll take the Yes super fans' word for it that it was 40 minutes. But yeah, I didn't remember that part of it. But I just wanted to get back to
Do you still have that?
no, I do not have that banner. I still have the Journey banner.
Oh, okay.
But the Rolling Stones concert in 1981, my friend had won tickets off of a Chicago radio station, WLS. And unfortunately, I was sick with pneumonia. And the doctor said I wasn't to go anywhere except bed. But my friend had these tickets to see the Rolling Stones, and I'd never seen them before. And you decided to let me go because he didn't think they'd be around for much longer. And I think that might have had something to do maybe with the Leonard Skinner tickets or what. But yeah, I ended up going to that concert, which was totally outrageous. It was a great show.
The 1977 Leonard Skinner thing taught me a lesson about putting it off. So you had been on antibiotics for 3 days, and I thought, you're young and you're healthy, basically, never to miss the Rolling Stones. that was amazing that he got those. He won those tickets because I don't know how much they might have been, you know.
Yeah, I don't know why, but with the Rolling Stones, I always felt they were out of reach for me to ever see or get tickets. Was always insane to get tickets.
Yeah.
So yeah, you let me go, and I wore a little dust mask on my face because of the cigarette smoke and other types of smoke. So that was like well before COVID ever was a thing, and I had on my mask because
Yeah, we were ahead of our time, right?
yeah, we were. I'm sure people were looking at me like, who's this dude up here with this mask on? What kind of awful disease does he have? But anyway, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And just to wrap up here, Mom, we've got a few minutes left. Yeah, I mean, this whole concert mom idea, like you said, you have like a 4-year window. You know, not that I would have minded if you came along with some of my friends to some concerts, but it wasn't really about that. You know, you kind of let
Oh,
me go when we had our driver's license and stuff, and not that you wouldn't have enjoyed it, but
well, you know what, honey? That 4 years brought me an enormous amount of enjoyment. I got to know you and your friends thoroughly, and it gave me peace of mind to know the kind of people that you hung out with, you know. And I learned it was a learning experience for me, and I enjoyed everything so thoroughly. And, you know, just driving to the city and seeing the lights and stuff, it was so exciting. It was so different to see them live. And I enjoyed every minute of it, even the bad minutes.
yeah.
They made great stories.
Yeah, no, and I have grown to really appreciate that, and thank you for that. And when we have guests on the podcast here, and we have them fill out the become a guest form, which, by the way, you could go to our website, seeing them live, and fill out our guest form. I give examples of some of the concerts I went to when they reply back, or and sometimes I've been to the same shows they were at, and I say, yeah, my mom took me to this concert, that concert, and I'll get like, you've got a cool mom, you know, or comments like that, and I think, you know, she is pretty cool. And you know, there weren't a lot of moms doing that unless you recruited them from the neighborhood to come with. You know?
Yeah, they were going to be my map quest, that's for sure. But I enjoyed it immensely. It was totally my pleasure. And we learned a lot about the city, getting around and, you know, driving in and out of the city. It was a wonderful experience for me. And I'm so happy that you enjoyed it. I think brother enjoyed it too, you
Yeah.
know, when he was included and all your friends. But it was a wonderful thing. I'm happy to be a concert mom.
Yeah, and you know, now that my wife and we have a daughter, and we want to take her to a concert. She's 12, and it would be great someday if you could join us. It would be several generations of concert goers. You know.
I would love that. That would be the ultimate. Would love to do that.
So, all right, Mom. Well, thanks again for coming on Seeing Them Live. Is there anything else you would like to say in closing before we leave?
No, I want to thank you for doing this because there are so many people out there. It's amazing. I tell them that, you know, it's Seeing Them Live podcast. Everyone I talk to, even the doctors I work with and stuff, they all have a story. They all, oh, yeah, I remember this concert and that concert. It's music is a wonderful thing. It's when you hear the song, it brings you back to that moment and
Yeah.
it brings back emotionally, you know, for many things. So, you know, they even play music for babies, lullabies and things. But seeing them live is a whole nother experience. And the minute I mention this podcast, I hear their personal stories, which I find extremely interesting because it's all over, not just where we lived, but everywhere I go, I talk about it. And they're happy to share their stories and they're good people. You have a a common interest with people immediately.
Yeah.
And a warm feeling.
Yeah, they do. It does usually spark some memories that people want to share. And even when people think they don't have a good story, it turns out that it actually is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
You know,
they don't
what they experienced or what happened at the show or after the show or yeah, whatever, who they were with, why they went to the concert, things like
I
that.
told you this. One of the doctors that we were seeing had a Walkman tattoo on his arm that you could see. And I'm like, is that a Walkman? That's it. I heard about 5 stories after that.
Yeah, that's old school, man. Walkman.
Yeah, Walkman.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, thanks again, Mom. And we'll have to go see a show together one of these days.
Let's do it. We'll do this again.
All right.
Thanks,
All right.
sweetheart.
Thank you. Bye. That's a wrap for our show. I want to thank today's guests for sharing their concert stories with us. Make sure to check out our show notes at seeingthemlive.com for links to websites, photos, and other artifacts mentioned in the show. I also want to thank my producer, Doug Florzak. The theme music for the show was composed by Doug and is featured on his album, Flagstone. If you have a concert story you'd like to share on our podcast, please visit our website and click on Become a Guest in the main menu. Then fill out the form and click the Submit button. If you seem like a good fit for the show, we'll contact you via email. I guess it's time to head for the exits. We'll see you next time on Seeing Them Live. And who knows? Maybe we'll check out a show together one of these days.
That'd be awesome.
And definitely your band.
That'd be awesome too.
But thanks again, Tom. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.